Ocarina of Time is, to many, the definitive Zelda game. The series' debut into the third dimension took everything A Link to the Past established and worked it into the most immersive Hyrule yet. It's now been 22 years since the Hero of Time's first adventure, and Ocarina of Time is probably still the most recognisable, talked about game in the Zelda series. But it still has secrets. So today, let's run through some small Ocarina of Time secrets you might not know about. Under the night sky, Hyrule Field crawls with the undead. When the sun sets, the Stal children wake, clawing their way out from the cold earth beneath Link's feet, an endless skeletal horde. The Stal children spawn in pairs, and only take a few hits each to fell. However, they'll keep spawning until dawn. If one dies, another takes its place. Something strange happens after Link slays 10, however. A giant Stal child will spawn. It has the same amount of health and hits just as hard as the smaller ones, but will drop more rupees when defeated. This doesn't just happen for Stal children. Near the Desert Colossus, Link can fight levers and gways. The levers are small green sand creatures, and after killing 10, a large purple lever will spawn. Killing 10 gways does the same thing. A huge gway will appear, again dropping more rupees upon defeat. I don't really know why this happens. It only works with these three enemies: Stal children, levers and gways. There's a great video covering the topic by SwankyBox, link in the description, but in the end, it's still a mystery. Some enemies just spawn giant variants for seemingly no reason. Along with the compass, the dungeon map is always one of the least exciting items to find, after the build-up and anticipation of discovering and opening a large chest. But regardless of it not being an awesome new item to use, it is useful, giving the player a map to navigate the current dungeon. The map item is an aged scroll of parchment with a map of an unidentified dungeon drawn out and labelled. It has clear Hylian letters on the top in the 3D remake, but the other labels are too small to make out from the model in either version, but not on the original's official render. The Hylian text is translatable to Japanese, reading Nintendo Head Office. The smaller text on the map reads things like bicycle parking, president's office, off-campus dining, as well as SRD, which stands for Systems Research and Development, a subsidiary of Nintendo, Mario Club, another subsidiary of Nintendo who deal with debugging and testing, and even directions to the office building from a nearby train station. Most of this text isn't something players can see in-game, only on the official render of the dungeon map item, but it's a great little Easter egg for those who take the time to translate it. Occasionally, at certain spots around Hyrule, Navi will turn green, highlighting something. She'll often do this when Link can target something nearby, but in this case, he can't Z-target anything. Instead, Link can play the Sun Song or the Song of Storms, causing a large, wingless fairy to appear. It can't be caught in a bottle, but it's otherwise superior to normal fairies. It completely refills both Link's health and magic. These fairies can also be summoned by playing the Song of Storms at Gossip Stones, but this is more well known than the Navi spots. This isn't the only way Link can spawn fairies out of thin air. If he holds a Deku stick around groups of butterflies, occasionally one will land on the very tip, before transforming into a small fairy. It's hard to get down consistently, but it's really cool when it happens. Have you ever noticed how, sometimes, Link's movement seems to glitch out very slightly? This is known as a critical wiggle, and it occurs when Link is on critically low hearts and the camera is closer to him. Very occasionally, when moving, Link will change direction for a single frame, before returning to whichever direction is being input by the player. It's hard to notice if walking or running, as it corrects immediately, but if this happens just as a player inputs a roll, it'll cause Link to roll in the direction in which Link turned for the critical wiggle, which has occasionally happened during speedruns.
Are you serious? I got a crit wiggle. I got a crit wiggle right as I rolled.
I don't know whether this was an intended feature or not, and I'm not even going to pretend to understand the mechanics behind it. Having Link become slightly more difficult to control when he's on low health makes sense, and the randomness does make it feel like he's injured and stumbling. If it is by design, it feels like an unfinished idea, and isn't something most players would even notice. Few video game mysteries are as widespread and famous as the enigmatic L is Real 2401 statue in Super Mario 64. Found in the courtyard of Peach's castle, this statue of a star features a plaque reading, depending on who you ask, either L is Real 2401 or Eternal Star. Much of the mystery surrounding the statue centres around a playable Luigi, one of gaming's biggest urban myths. L is Real was taken to mean Luigi is in the game, with 2401 meant to represent anything from the number of coins in the game, collecting all of which would supposedly unlock the second plumber, to an approximation of the release date of Paper Mario. Interestingly, this sign also appears in Ocarina of Time, in Dodongo's cavern. Link can read it to discover a riddle on how to progress through the dungeon, but the texture used is the exact same as in Mario 64. Considering how closely Ocarina of Time and Super Mario 64 were developed together, this isn't surprising, but it's cool to see one of gaming's most iconic urban legends appear in Dodongo's cavern. The Happy Mask Salesman is one of the Zelda series' most infamous characters, thanks to his mysterious, unhinged persona in Majora's Mask. But he also appears in Ocarina of Time as the owner of the Happy Mask shop in Castletown. His business works by lending out masks to customers, who can then sell the masks on for profit before repaying the shop the price of the mask. The masks are involved in the mask trading sequence, where Link finds buyers for various masks, eventually obtaining the Mask of Truth, which allows him to speak to Gossip Stones by trading the Keaton Mask, the Skull Mask, the Spooky Mask, and the Bunny Hood to their respective buyers. Wearing any of the masks causes various characters around the world to react differently to Link, but something not a lot of people know is that two of the trading sequence masks, the Skull Mask and the Bunny Hood, actually have secret uses. The Skull Mask will prevent Keese from attacking Link. If they're circling around him, wearing the mask will stop them from targeting him. The Bunny Hood works similarly, but for Stal children. If worn, no Stal children will spawn in Hyrule Field at night, which is handy, even if it's not quite as useful as the super speed it grants in Majora's Mask. Thanks for watching this video. If you liked it, leave a like or subscribe if you haven't already for more Zelda content. Cheers guys, and I'll see you next time.